No, we need like a dance that we could all do.
All right. Welcome back to That's Growth Ops, where fireside warmth meets the sharp insights of operational experts, where you can join us for candid conversations that deep dive into growth operations, from the latest in account-based marketing to innovative strategies for growth. You get to tune in for actual insights and a bit of fun every Friday. And now, before we get into it, we have a special guest today. We've mentioned his awesomeness in a few episodes already, and he's clearly an MVP over here at Growth. Not only is he an Apollo.io sales and AI email advisory board member, he's also been recently crowned Community Member of the Year at Apollo's GTMEs. Chris, join me in welcoming the man, the myth, the legend, Ron Burgundy. Just kidding.
Jesse D'Agostino. You know what's fun about Jesse? Two things. One, I think I've known him since I was 8 years old-ish. Two,
just about
how little excitement he had about winning the first award Apollo's ever given out. He was the first one at their first award show, we'll call it. He's just like, cool. You're so chill, man. Just
That's
such a
how it
humble
goes.
gangster.
I'm a bit of an OG. It's true.
That's
So,
really cool, man.
That award was pretty cool. Like, I think I read what you did over 1,200 touch points in the community. You're an expert at all things Apollo. Like, how'd that feel?
I mean, it was cool to be recognized because I didn't know that it was a competition, and then at the end I won it. So that was nice. I was just trying to be helpful in the community, just try and say hi to everybody. If there was a question and I knew the answer, knew how to get it, essentially, I would try and help out and provide that to my peers, essentially, to everyone else that was in the group. So that was fun to do. I had fun doing it. I learned a lot doing it. And it worked out. I got an award for fun.
I mean, watching your evolution of skill set and knowledge over the past 2 years at Growth, I think you really took advantage of, in a good way, with the community to, like you just said, find resources, share what you know. And I honestly feel like that's a big part of what's helped me be successful too. It's like, I don't need to pretend to know everything, but if I can know how to get most things and then I can facilitate, I pick up some knowledge, grow my network, do some good, all at the same time. I don't get an award for it though.
Well,
You gotta be the
Growth
best.
was
Enjoy it.
nominated.
Enjoy that. You're getting a physical, I'm told, you're getting a physical award.
I hope it's something gaudy.
Too. I want lights.
Large and yeah.
And we could just display it there for all your glory.
It'd be
Awesome.
great.
You know? Anyway.
Yeah.
Welcome to the party.
Welcome
Thanks
to
for
the
having me.
party. Yeah. And Chris, you just got back. You were San Francisco? Now you're back in Pacific Grove?
Yeah, back in Honore's finest. Yeah, I went up to, that was a week ago. Went up to San Francisco for HubSpot, doing a partner user group, basically a way for them to use their expense account to say thank you to some partners, which I love. Please keep doing that, HubSpot. The food was great. The people that attended it was really nice. There was someone on the service side, on the UX for Service Hub. There was someone actually I need to introduce you to who represented this as a senior engineer for Content Hub on the AI side. Yeah, and then a couple of, on the partner side, there was only a couple of people, but it was fun because I actually had already met them in some cases several times. So Val, I met at Inbound, and Chris Strom. Sorry, I don't know your last name, Val. Chris Strom, I just talk to all the time. And also met in person at Inbound, but he's part of a monthly partner group that you and I were in, but I'm still in, because now you're no longer a partner. Now you're a partner of a partner. Anyway, pretty cool. Nice. Small world, man. I just like meeting people, hanging out.
That's the key, I think, right there.
And I will say, just to say it, so yes, I moved from San Francisco. Yes, I cried when I left. Yes, I go back often. There have been some periods where San Francisco certainly had like some things they needed to overcome, but the last two trips, and really the last trip, we stayed right in downtown, Beacon Grand Hotel. Like, not that matters, just for like location if someone's Googling me type situation. Like where it was nefariously bad, Fox News, it was awesome. I even took, just to kind of like test myself out, I went to Union Square in front of the Macy's and sat down on a bench for 15 to 20 minutes. No problems. Not even a single like loud noise or scream or anything. I'm happy to say I feel much safer in downtown San Francisco than downtown Orlando, Florida.
I know it was
Big
crazy.
come up for San Francisco.
The last time we were there, Queenie and I, we were walking around downtown, and there's this group of like 3 guys following us. So we just ended up ducking into one of the restaurants and having cocktails for about an hour. That was a good way to get around it.
I don't see like a lot of like the problems that San Francisco has faced isn't as much like robbing people that are visiting. There's definitely has been periods of like, pretty aggressive, very available drug use. And then a lot of theft for like if you lived in San Francisco, like car break-ins. But I don't know of any stories of people being followed and robbed. So maybe they're just trying to get you to drink. Which either way, sounds like the story ended on a high. But
it did.
San Francisco is pretty crazy. I love that city. It's the best.
Yeah, it's a good place. All right. Well, we've how are you doing this week, Chris? There's been a lot going on. You're just like popping stuff due yesterday into the pipeline here for us. It's been a little nuts on service. Like how's your week been?
I think it's now that we're at Friday, it feels pretty good. It's one of the interesting things about this job is having to manage lots of expectations and no day looking the same at all. And I'm getting old. So the energy I had to do that for many years was like unlimited. And now I have found that there are limits to my power. So this week I'm excited for a few hours from now to kick back and relax and enjoy the blue sky.
Nice. Jesse, how about you? How's your week?
Yeah. How is it, Jesse?
My week is shaping up pretty good. I'm excited. It's Friday also. We got a day off next week for Juneteenth. Big shout out.
Travel day.
And things, all the projects I'm working on are headed in a positive direction. I like the people that I'm working with. So no complaints.
That's good. Are you being overworked?
No, I'm not being overworked. I'm being worked just the right amount.
Perfect.
Chris is just going to close a few more deals and change that, I think.
Yeah, that feels good though, right?
Let's do that too. Yeah.
We
You kidding me?
yesterday closed a big HubSpot upgrade for a big one of the accounts Jesse works on. Really excited. Big implementation from Blue Core to HubSpot, and then building a whole new Salesforce Commerce HubSpot Content Hub functionality for them globally, which is cool. That took I want to say 4 months of planning and mapping. It's interesting how the problems that we solve for can be.
Chris, how long were they a client before that opportunity presented itself?
That's a very good question. A little over a year. We've been doing ABM with them. For people that actually listen to this, our first ABM client, and we learned a lot. And there were some very long days because I am a lot of things, but I am not a quitter. So like they say, don't try to fit a square peg into a round hole. Kick the shit out of that peg and fit it into a round hole. And it's worked out. It's worked out. You've done a really good job. A lot of lessons learned, and yeah, I'm thankful. This is what partnerships and relationships, the best ones, look like in my 20 years.
That's awesome.
It was
I
good.
agree.
Yeah, man. Good question too. Well done.
Awesome.
You're a pro.
So I've got one. Usually, as you guys know, if you've been listening, do a little bit of a newsreel here, but I've only got one today that kind of stood out to me. Did you know that AI beauty pageants are now a thing?
Finally.
No, tell me more.
So, little awkward, but people are out there using generative AI, obviously, to fulfill fantasies or create assets for marketing.
Those
So
are only two options.
Yeah, beauty pageants were definitely going to happen at some point. I mean, we have AI avatars out there now, AI influencers, all that kind of stuff. But the AI beauty pageants, from what I can glean, they're saying, we're going to rank on more than just looks. So it's not about making them look perfect. What I can glean.
Good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's also going to be about clout and influencer power, of course. So it had me thinking, like, what's the implication on influencer culture? And should we even care about that? And I think, like, there's always been influencers in society, and there probably always will be. But I think that it's going to come down to that AI influencers are just going to be easier to work with in the long run because they're going to do exactly what you tell them. And you don't have to deal with their clout and my 4 million followers and all of that. It's just they're going to do what you say. But I think we need to be careful because who's making those keystrokes? AI doesn't have an opinion. So how are we being influenced? Is it just by what our eyes can see? So it's really interesting to kind of dig into that. What do you think?
Interesting. I am, like, for one, I'm familiar with AI or just like engineered influencers. So like it's been around for 5-6 years on like my radar, but essentially like using Photoshop or whatever to generate images. And those be the photos and videos that you're posting, and then you have a human kind of like writing the copy or using a tool. So like very familiar with it. I don't have a strong opinion because I don't care. And it's creepy, man. It's just like such a weird cyberpunk Blade Runner-esque like story, and I'm just not there yet. I'm not influenced often. I mean, like, I bought a couple, like Magic Mind, that juice shooter thing. I bought that off of an Instagram ad.
What
For
about
the most part,
that protein bar or whatever, Built or whatever it was?
Oh shit! Yeah, they got me too. Click here to sponsor this show. No, they yeah, I don't know. It's just weird though. Like, it is weird.
It is weird. And like for me,
But
it's
also like is it robots following robots? That's the weirdest thing. And I've known this always, like being an Instagram promoter for many years. You know, you like curating out the robots, but then like some people don't curate it and almost like embrace it to get those numbers up. And then if you have a robot engaging other robots, then this whole sales funnel is basically fake, which is weird, but not my problem.
Yeah. No, I
what do you think,
I agree
Jesse?
with that.
Jesse's like hard in the AI.
Pageants are outdated and sexist. I'm against it.
Ooh, but what if you were to like
how hot the avatars are?
If you could do like 8-armed purple elephants and have them compete in the same pageant that someone that did like a traditional pageant beauty. I mean, maybe that's the way to go. Like really expand the horizon. TBD.
Avatar, just in general, best avatar.
Yeah,
just as opposed
overall
to
coolness. How cool is your AI?
Yeah, I think like what they're looking at too is, what are the tools that you're using to build it? So obviously looks are going to be part of it, but what are the tools that you're using to build it? How are you doing it with prompts? Or do you have to manipulate it after the fact? And all those pieces are going into factor. So it's interesting from a tech perspective. And there's a guy, I think, he's created, it's Saren I. And he created it because he's got a jewelry company, and he chose to create it because human influencers were just too expensive and too demanding. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to create this so that I can promote my jewelry without having to fork out a bunch of cash. So it's interesting.
Good, kudos to him. I would stick to jewelry making, but I'm not here to give him career advice. It just seems like a lot.
Exactly.
Hit those farmers markets up. Right. What do you think, Jesse?
Help him sell jewelry. He doesn't know anyone that's like mildly attractive. He could put the jewelry on. Like, just
there's probably more behind this story.
There's probably
yeah. I feel like I'm on Monkey News with Carl Pilkington.
Yeah. I think we're going to start to see a lot of more weird coming out of the AI space. I was on Reddit yesterday, which is a dangerous place to be anyways. And there's this Redditor that put a post out that he is trying to get it legalized where he can marry his AI girlfriend because she's the only one that gets him.
That's so sad. It's also like, this isn't a common language. Like, wasn't there a movie like Lawnmower Man where the guy's like kind of like an AI dude? He obviously does bad things, I think, in the movie, but like this idea of like a digital but real person is certainly like not brand new. I do feel like kind of brokenhearted for whoever that person is that hasn't had the ability to find connection with humans, because it probably starts with like a family and then, you know, self-esteem and like the whole situation of not having somebody to connect with is like heartbreaking. So
yeah,
maybe really like not needing a marriage license, but like that gives you your connection. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know.
I'm not against it. Not against it.
Not against the marriage.
As long as he's happy and the avatar is happy. I mean,
yeah, no one's hurting each other or whatever.
You know what?
Hey, if it can help the socially awkward, I think that's great. No?
Yeah, it's just also like heartbreaking that you can't like go get a hug from a human. You know what I'm saying?
I think if they have a social security number, you should be allowed to marry it. But I don't want him to claim any tax breaks unless he's, you know.
See, good call.
All right, let's
That's
switch
a good
gears.
way to look at it too.
That is
classic Jesse.
Yep. All right. So, at the top of the episode, before we got into my weird AI talk, we were talking about, some of the lessons you've learned with ABM and things like that. What are the biggest lessons you've learned, Chris, Jesse? What are the big lessons?
I can start off by saying a lot of what you find about ABM on the internet is not helpful at all. There's a lot of recreated, barely redigested, high-level, non-execution fluff out there. Even when you get it, and that makes it very difficult for people to understand how complex the process is. I want to back that up with, I think the most important aspect of ABM is giving you all the group that is going to go about finding companies to introduce yourself to. It's so frequent how little time is given for the deep diving conversation, like really the heart of the whole program. And it's not documented enough. And I keep trying to scream to anybody that'll listen that that's such an important part, that sales and marketing alignment meeting, whether it's one or a couple. Everyone's like, no, I've got a buyer persona sheet. And you're like, oh. That's my takeaway. There's a bunch of fluff and junk out online about it. And when you really boil it down, the time you put into thinking about who you want to talk to and why pays off when the program happens. What about you, Jesse? What have you learned about ABM?
I think that it's nice when those customers give you that ICP profile. However, usually about 80% of it isn't helpful. And also they think that you're able to, do all the targeting and get their messaging, and they want to talk to various groups and they want to talk to them in various ways, but they only want to have one meeting about it. So yeah, it definitely takes a few touch points before you get those details sussed out, even when they come well prepared.
Yeah, it's wild, but I mean, I'm glad. Like, it seems like we're similarly minded. Even no matter how clear you make it, it's still like, oh, well, just kind of, I'm busy, they're busy. Let's just move past it, and I'll send you a thing and just figure it out. And it's just, it makes the outreach less authentic. Yeah, right. And the whole thing about ABM is, for the first time ever, you can now say, like, I really liked working with that company. Let me use the tool Apollo.io to find companies like it with location and company and blah, 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 blah. And then with HubSpot, let me just send an email and say hello and why I'm saying hello, just like you would meet a stranger in life. And it's such a normal process, but everybody makes it too complicated and or doesn't care about that authentic handshake moment. Maybe while they're talking about ABM, they get excited about it, but then it's like, as soon as the transaction has started, it's like, we want to see ROI. It's tough.
And they want to see it quick, right?
People want
this is like the battle marketing has always had, right? But it does work. I would say when you do it correctly and have the right tools and give it the time, I would say it works. I could almost say 100% of the time. But there's an asterisk in there, and you can look at all my other stuff to see what the asterisk contains.
And so, Jesse, you were saying like when you get that ICP, you've often found what was it? It was like 80% of it's not usable, or what was it?
Yeah, or the client is really excited about it because they finally get a chance to show it to somebody else, maybe outside of their organization, and it is really awesome. It does look really cool, but the information isn't helpful for what they're currently trying to do. And so they're like, "Oh, I got this doc, and I got this doc, and I got this doc." We're like, "Great. Which one of those do you actually want to use?"
So it's like they're just providing way too much information then, or
they're just not sure what they want initially, so they give you everything because they haven't decided yet. Even they know they want ABM, they know they want to target X, but they want to do it, and they haven't narrowed it down yet because they haven't aligned their sales and marketing.
There's also the issue with like ABM's message, right? Like I just shared earlier, you can now find a set of companies based off of similar variables and communicate with them. So to me, it's like, cool. I think we have some customers we like working with. Let's find some more like them. But a few times the idea comes, let's create a group of clients that we could never get in any normal universe. $1 billion and up customers that are behind every security gate, lock, and key possible. And that's where we're going to go. You said you could target anybody. I'm like, God, I did say that. It is true. It has worked. But why are we starting there? Because there's like a couple of hundred other companies that fit who you're doing business with now that you work really well with that aren't your customers. Let's start there. That's what I talk about when I'm saying the best target account list. Who do you work best with? And you know, the greedy, the money gods just keep popping in and they want that money. So
I see that one in all facets, B2B, B2C, everything, where the business owner really has no true idea on who they work well with. And they like, the greed. Well, I know who I make the most money with, but that's not necessarily who you work the best with.
Having HubSpot helps, like a full customer-centric ecosystem. Like I would say this is one of the really strong arguments, because if you already have it and you adopt an ABM program and you're using Service Hub, Sales Hub, and Marketing Hub, you have a database of what are the questions that sales receiving in the sales process. What are the messages that marketing is marketing to get conversations? And then when people become customers, what are like the recurring themes, good or bad, that the service team is seeing? And you can just clackety-clack find that information inside of your HubSpot portal. And then you're like, oh, wow, look, here's the information we need. But it's would also require that you have the software and you're using it appropriately. Digress.
Chris will always throw that in at least once.
I am AB maniac. I love it. It's so cool.
It is.
And I really enjoy it too much.
Now, I know as much about the a lot of these tools as the next guy. Apollo's fairly new to me, so I've used it for building lists and searching for people. Previously, I used to use, dare I say, ZoomInfo.
You may. Just don't buy their stock because it is struggling.
And I think it's going to continue to struggle. So, aside from buying their stock, which is right for the foreseeable future? Which tool should we be using?
Sorry about that. I had somebody pull up a Slack huddle on me.
Oh,
yeah, that was crazy.
Put a marker in here before.
Don't do that. Guys, I've never had that happen before. Sorry, please hold.
What are you doing?
Okay. Problem solved. Occasionally, the people we work with like to have conversations post-sale, and apparently that's what's happening. Moving right along. What was the question?
Apollo versus ZoomInfo. I mean,
why?
Obviously...
Why or what? Both.
Yeah. Why, what? Which one's better? Is there a specific use case that you would suggest one over the other? I mean, I think we're probably pretty much in the strong Apollo seat here, but
yes, I would say that ZoomInfo shared, I would say, some of the same problems that Salesforce has had that are now showing, and that is they have no respect for their customers, and I mean that like bluntly, because both companies, but we'll stick to ZoomInfo, have documented hundreds of times of like overcharging and just like weird policy and then like overcharging credit cards and things and being like real dirty about it. Right. And I have not experienced that personally. I have heard from their customers 12 different times. I'm keeping them counted about, and we're not talking like $500. I'm talking like large transactions, real problems. So that always irks me, just because fairness has been a big lever for me for a long time. How we ended up going from ZoomInfo to Apollo was, yes, aggressive salespeople, but also like what felt like a ridiculous price point and like the barrier to entry for really anybody to join. It felt like a little bit of like a cool kids club. So I love to break those things up. So
yeah, like I've liked it. Like you can get started for free on Apollo. That's what I really like.
Yeah.
ZoomInfo, I think you've got to jump through a few hoops, and for the most part, when I've joined like when I've set up free accounts, they're not hassling me every day like ZoomInfo was. And then ultimately I found that the quality of data is more up to date on Apollo as well.
Yeah, Apollo's improved a lot. They've invested. I'm obviously pro Apollo for a bunch of reasons, but I am with HubSpot too. We just happen to pick softwares that end up becoming very successful. HubSpot wasn't number one when we became partners, and we weren't in reason why they became number one. Same with Apollo, but there were some things that both organizations had that made me feel very comfortable investing a lot of time and money into knowing them and putting Jesse in the communities and stuff. 1, track record of success and growth. We didn't hop on HubSpot day 1. We didn't hop on Apollo day 1. 2, wrong product roadmap, like documented. This is what we're doing today, but tomorrow it'll be better, and tomorrow it'll be better. And Apollo has done that for years. HubSpot as well. And then the third is investing in resources to let your software users and partners learn and grow and get the most out of the tool. Because like most people aren't developers or marketing ops or sales ops or rev ops. They're just normal people and don't know what the hell most of the functionality does. It was made by a product team probably throughout the world that had a cool idea. So the fact that they document their work and they have a very nice academy with some like very helpful information. That's why we chose to work with both Apollo and HubSpot. And I'm very, very thankful for choosing the right partners, because we've just been able to double down over and over and over with our investment with both of them.
What do you think, Jesse?
I wanted to reiterate what Chris was saying. They both have strong roadmaps. Apollo, since we became partners, has grown like exponentially in the features which are available, the integrations which are available, the syncs which are available, the custom fields which are available. All the bells and whistles are really starting to come together and align for Apollo. I love the way that we're using it, integrated well with HubSpot. The read only or the write only or the sync both ways or what have you is a really great feature.
It's only
I'm excited to
available
see
with
what's
their
coming next.
Yeah, their custom plan, right? Like you need to have the organizational. I think this was like a change, at least I noticed on their website when I was setting up for the micro lesson this week. They have 4 tiers, and then their highest tier is organization, and it's 3 people minimum.
Correct.
I didn't see anything else about the custom plan on the pricing page anymore. So I wonder if the organizational seats include that, what we have said is needed. It all works out at the end of the year anyway with what they're charging, but I think they may have unreleased a change, like haven't said it, but I wonder if they've gotten rid of that custom plan functionality and just built it into a team plan, which is like, thank God, that makes so much sense.
This organizational plan and custom plan is phased out.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And talking about new features, this is on the hush hush. I was in a meeting about some new features that are rolling out with Apollo. I'm working on some plays in the background. I can't say anything about it, obviously, but some big things are coming.
Ooh.
It's going to be really awesome, and it's going to help people. I know, big secret news. It's going to help people roll through their tasks and get through some of these prospecting daily to-dos a lot nicer, a lot smoother. And
I would love for them to open up the intent data like Rollworks has, so we can put in our own search terms.
That'd be great.
Keep
Is that
letting them know.
Is that a bone for you too, Jesse?
It's not a bone for me, but obviously that would really, exponentially strengthen the power of that feature. It's good now, but it could be even better.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you think like are must-haves for people when they're setting up Apollo?
When you're first setting up, make sure you have your domain. Make sure you have a clean email, right? That your basic email setting isn't already your deliverability and what have you isn't already bad or trash. Make sure you know who you're going to be going after. Do a nice search. Make a nice sequence. Do a practice play on a few people. Then play it forward from there. Enable your tracking wherever it's possible. Make sure you limit your initial sending limits, etc., because you're a new sender, and slowly increase that.
Because the tools will tell you can send 500 emails a day. And Apollo does tell you if you dig deep enough, but HubSpot does not. Do not send more than 40. Like, you can send up to 500, but that's going to break your system immediately. And I will say, and Jesse, I don't know, we have never really talked about this. I've been like anti-dummy domains and anti-dummy emails because the Google gods know, like they are aware when you buy a brand new domain that isn't hosted and, whatever, they know what you're doing. Although it won't affect your real website's email reputation, health. Your emails are still not going to go out. So, like, why did you bother doing it in the first place?
I mean, people want to do it, and they're claiming that they're going to warm it up for 3 months or 4 months ahead of time, and then they're going to always leave it on slightly on to keep warming up, even when they're already out there sending out other stuff. And in the end, I don't know. I haven't seen the actual data that says that works. And a lot of people just want, obviously, what do you really want to do in your heart? You want to mass blast everybody and hit everybody with that message instantly, and you don't care. But that's not how it works. But that's what people are
trying to do. And when you do it like that, then you miss the whole point of like that authentic, like we're all in a room thinking about who is our ideal customer. What do they care about?
Exactly.
That's why ABM done, like, I will just say, like, Growth's way, since there's no book on it, like, works. Because, like, that time is spent on the front end. And, yeah, we do some segmentation, there's some personalization, but it's like an authentic outreach. Like, yo, you need this, we do this, I would love to talk to you about it. And it's only slightly more complex than that, but not much.
Clients,
it's genuinely what we're trying to do.
Say clients, even clients of ours who do it first, I'm not going to say their way, but do it first the traditional way, and then afterwards change to a more personal way, changing their messaging, see better results. So if they wanted to, they could just start with the personal way, but no one wants to.
So let's talk about the personable way here for a second, because I know Chris has some thoughts on, how do you word it, Chris? Faux pleasantries?
Yeah, I hate them. I lived in the South for a long time, and that's where I grew my hate of faux pleasantries, because you do not care. How are you doing is my, like, how's it going? You don't care. And it's purposely asking me a question where somebody like me, pretty much, for better or worse, shows up authentically. It was really hard to get my head around living in the South. What I love about California, hi, that's it. I recognize you. I am also here. Do not run into me. I don't need to know about your life, and I don't need to share my life. It's awesome. I love it. Just a hi. It's perfect. How's it going as you're walking past somebody is one of the most annoying things somebody could do.
It's a very American thing. Immigrants struggle
with
with that. Seriously. Because people are like, nobody in my country would ever ask, how are you doing? Unless they really wanted to know. I'm like, it doesn't mean they don't give a shit about you. It just means hello. Just keep on going.
See, and I get that. What's crazy though, like, I gotta watch how much of it I say here. In the UK, I was showing some emails on how they are typically crafted going out to places in the UK. And it's always, hey, hope your weekend was great. How are you doing? Hope all is well.
They're a little behind, though. There's there's a culture. There's a cultural difference between regions, right? But I would say that my argument for faux pleasantry in a marketing message is twofold. One, since you don't really care, don't ask. Two, you only have so much visual real estate. So if your first attempt to say something important is something that you don't mean, you arguably might lose your chance to say what you do mean. So why have the first thing that you don't mean in there at all when you're just trying to get a clear message across? And it feels to me very like inauthentic when I see those faux pleasantries, because it's so textbook that I can assume that this is a message that is being generated for many people, which means you really don't give a shit. How's it going or how my weekend was.
And I mean, like, you've got, as you said, very limited real estate. So who are you? How are we connected? What is it that I want to talk to you about? That's really all it should be.
In the first email, that's it. It's just a hi, right? And I mean, like, Jesse and I haven't had a chance to catch up on this in a while, but is your methodology still with the first email to keep it very, very light?
Just like Rich was saying, I mean, who are you? Why should they care? How can you help?
Yeah. You don't even need to force like a CTA in the first email, because you'd be really surprised with how quickly you can build brand value and trust by not asking them, a stranger, to do a thing you have no business asking them for. Don't even get me started on the breakup email. Lose my mind. That is an instant spam button. The only time I hit spam is when somebody says I've been trying to get a hold of you. This is going to be my last email. And I was like, yeah, I'll make sure that's right. Don't send a breakup email.
You lost out on a lot of good opportunities there.
I'm sure I didn't. So that's my 2 cents on faux pleasantries. Don't do them. It's a waste of real estate. If in your part of the universe, faux pleasantries are standard best practice, don't follow it. Try it. And I bet you'll be surprised.
Well, I think one of the things too is just with the advent of ChatGPT, everyone's going in there, putting in what they want in the prompt, and then just copy and pasting, not applying any logic, framework, success cases. And ChatGPT has just been trained on the entirety of the internet, looking since the beginning and how emails were written to how they are now. You know, back in the day when we looked at all of our emails solely on a computer with a lot more real estate versus the phone. You know, the last thing when I get a message on Facebook, LinkedIn, or email, and the first bit of it is a paragraph, I delete. Done. I have no intention of reading it. When the subject line is super, super long, you know, those things drive me nuts.
Even some of the old school tricks, like throwing in emojis and stuff, are now like kind of triggers that this might be a fake email. And that's something I'm saying for the first time. When I used to be like a diehard add an emoji in a subject line person. Now I feel like maybe I've gotten older and I don't like duck emojis. You know, that was like definitely a requirement, is to have that in there to help you stand out. I don't know if I feel the same anymore.
I hate emojis.
That's a strong word for what could be a very fun addition to any form of communication.
I will say they have to be contextually relevant.
Specifically,
they have to be contextually relevant to the situation, or in the point where using emoji is going to save me time. Right?
I drop the poo emoji all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Drop the poo one. Drop the thumbs up.
Digestive system.
Apparently, you can't use thumbs up with millennials anymore.
Ooh, why is that?
They find it offensive. It's effectively the middle finger to them. And I'm like, thumbs up.
People without thumbs.
That's a weird connection. But I can feel it.
They don't type very fast anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Old people.
That was
I could see it.
I caught it. Did you catch that one, Chris?
Mm-mm.
It won't be funny if we repeat it.
It slides them.
They're great. Yeah. So, okay. Recap. Remove faux pleasantries. What else? What else do we want to? How do we go from traditional to what works?
So removing of the faux pleasantries is important, and then just sticking to the authentic outreach. Why are you talking to this person? You need to be aware that there's different roles of the company. So if you're talking to procurement versus finance versus sales, I mean, just take that person's job in mind when you're crafting your messaging, because there are literally different priorities, but then there's also different like personality traits that come with those jobs. I think that's kind of it. Just like keep the communication consistent over time. That's where you can look at almost any statistic, right? Of like how many podcast people have made over 100 episodes? Not many. How many, any group of people have been consistent for any period of time? Almost none in any group for these things, right? So unless it's like a group of high achieving athletes, like obviously they're 100% all high achieving athletes putting in the work. But why I bring that up is if you can do clear, concise, valuable when appropriate messaging over time, and you provide a service that you know that their organization either needs today or will need in the future, when that month 8, month 15 email hits and they need bulletproof glass or protection or ABM services or whatever, CPA firms for blah, 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 you'd be really surprised with how common hey, actually, could we book 15 minutes to chat? Email happens. Like, sure. And then when you meet with them, there's a feeling that there's already been a relationship that's been built because you haven't overstepped. You haven't been rude. You haven't been curt. You've been very respectful, and you just, you're just constantly like, hey, just saying, you guys build banks. Banks need bulletproof glass. We're real good at that. And that's really effectively what I think ABM is really about. You've got the ads, you've got the LinkedIn, you've got the emails, and you're just like, I'm here if you need me. Not like, this is the last time I'm going to tell you that I sell this. And if you called me tomorrow, I would definitely answer the phone, but I'm going to pretend that I wouldn't.
I got a question. How do you fellas feel about last chance or final call email?
Oh, like the
As part
FOMO,
of a
the
sequence.
sense of
Yeah, like, oh man, if I don't get it now, I may never get whatever this
then I guess I'll miss
deal is.
Well,
Is it?
and so like in my B2C experience, you
works.
are taught that you have to put a timeline and create a sense of urgency. And I feel that it's appropriate in ABM or outreach when you're offering something that is an extraordinary value beyond your typical service offering. So like if growth were to do ABM for ourselves and we were emailing people and we're like 8 months in, so we've got, let's say 1,000 people we've emailed. And then I say, you know what? For the next company that actually books a meeting, they're free. Like their implementation cost is $0. If we wanted to send an email that says like, hey, this is kind of crazy, but we've decided to waive a $10,000 fee, I think you can position that in a way that it feels healthy and isn't aggressive.
Yeah, you've got to be able to express the why. Like, why are we putting this limit on here? Why are we making this an urgent decision that you have to make?
But if it's because my lack of engagement is inconveniencing you, definitely don't do that. This is my last email. I'm like, you are so right. Spam block. It's the only time I hit it. I don't mind a bad email at all. And I'm certainly not like going to pretend like get on a high horse and like offer them constructive criticism, because that's not my thing either. But
you mean
the only time I hit spam block is when they are telling me that this is my last chance to meet with them. And all I'm doing is closing the loop on that now fact.
You mean you're not going to be the guy that takes a screenshot of that, scratches out their name, posts it on Facebook and blasts them?
Or LinkedIn. No, I would feel horrible doing that. Because like that person they probably have a terrible boss, and it could have been me, like me 5 years ago, sometime in the past, because I'm an amazing boss now. But like younger me, just having like being inconsiderate of my expectations and forcing someone to basically force them to do a bad job. I want to take it out on that person.
I think that's their fault. Great, because like you think I mentioned on a previous episode or just even in a chat with you, I've kind of like taken a step back from Facebook itself because I've just found it very toxic in nature. And your feed
curated that pool of poison, though.
Exactly. I was just gonna say your feed is your responsibility. So looking at that, and I saw it's either yesterday or this morning, it was that exact scenario. Somebody sent out a cold email. Lengthwise, it was great, but it just really didn't offer any value or next step. And the person that they happened to reach out to happened to be a cold email guru. So of course he put it on blast, and just everybody was
gurus
tearing
are
this.
so talented and usually so educated and have so much proven success. I really love gurus.
Yeah, it drove me nuts, and I was kind of just like, you know what? Instead of the unsubscribe, it's the okay, you're removed, and I don't want to see you in my feed anymore. Because instead of using that as an opportunity to, sorry, let me get my thoughts straight on this. It was more like, you know what? I commend the person for doing the outreach and even trying. Most people, especially when they're starting their business, fear cold outreach 100%, but it's a great foundational skill to have. If you could do it by phone, by email, by social, that's great. I used to get pissed off when I got them. Now I'm like, hey, you know what? That's awesome. You're doing something for yourself to help grow your business. Good on you. Second thought is showcase some value on how to do it better. Offer that person 15 minutes of your time, whatever it is. But, as you said, maybe they've got an employer and that employer is telling them to do it. Again, it's not on them. It doesn't make them a bad human being for sending you something cold, but take an opportunity to do better is all I'm saying.
Yeah, man. It always sucks when you get dragged in the dirt for any reason. I'm too old. That's the reality. I just can't handle it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I know you look inside the some of the partner groups on Facebook. I've seen some of. Look, I don't want any of that negativity. I've seen you post that. It's like that's not what this group is for. Like, let's just move.
I'm happy to reset expectations in any sort of community I'm in when there's a bunch of just complaining and naysaying. It's just like, Deborah, stop. It's always a Deborah.
All right. So Apollo, great ideas for the structure of putting your emails together. Is there a go-to sequence, like length, that you suggest, Jesse? Like, what are some of the directions that you can drop some value on?
That's a great question, Rich. The answer is 3.
3.
The go-to cold email sequence length is 3. If you want to throw in some additional steps, which I recommend, LinkedIn, cold calling, leaving the voicemail because they probably won't pick up, etc. The answer is 3.
What do you think of using
if they won't open your email in the first 3 steps and you've had them spaced out, appropriately in between, they're probably not going to be interested in your 4th one either.
This might be where you and I differ. So it sounds to me like it's like, hey, you basically have a cycle where, they're on a conveyor belt. Let's say this person, you send them 3 in a month, and let's say they're out of office I guess you would see that if they had that set up in their
they're
email.
not ready at the current time. So maybe think about
put them in
setting
a new
them
campaign
up for something like a more of a nurture kind of feeling as opposed to a.
So 3 specific to the moment, like, hey, let's talk, blah, 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 blah. And then I think the way we have it mapped where it's 3 in a month, right? Within 30 days?
Yes.
And then you go from 3 in 30 days down to 1 a month, or do you go 3?
Something like that. Yeah, depending on the individual. Yes, we'll say 1 a month sounds good. Depending.
There's a little bit of a math equation that Jesse has to run with ABM programs too, because there's a limitation based off of the number of users that are participating in the program, like active email accounts, and it's 40 emails per day is the hardest of hard limits that we just cannot breach. And when you roll that up to a quarterly number, that's about 300 companies, because we want to talk to 3 different people at each company for this to be the most effective tactic. So roughly 1,000 people. But if you max out that window, you no longer, and the next quarter you want to reach out to more people, you're now at capacity and you can't keep the follow-up going to the previous. So it's really interesting how you have to move numbers around to ensure that you're not preventing opportunities later.
That's a good point.
Throughout the week, you have to keep it balanced.
Yeah, I forgot about
daily and weekly.
That. Wow. Yeah, you got
so
to
depending
remember
on how many steps there are in the sequence and how many users there are, that depends on how many touches we can do in the month and which kind of touches they are.
I mean, those some of our first documents we created for ABM were outreach maps, where Jesse and Rich, you've experienced this part of me where I'm like, let's do it right away. Let's go to the wall fast and just let's attack. Well, it turns out when you take a minute and you look at the numbers over time, that doesn't work with ABM. Or You know what? Honestly, I'll say it out loud and recorded. Most things.
Yeah,
Get
I
ready
love
for that next.
I love when Chris
website.
closes a deal and everything's due yesterday.
I love that too.
Jesse's a
That's
fan
fun.
too.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Nobody
Jesse
wants
needed
to
to be.
hear a while from now.
If I can go back to
I'm
episode
thankful for every deal
5,
that closes.
that's my magic wand. Episode 5, my magic wand. No deal, no services due yesterday.
I'm working on it. I'm just a man. Just a man trying to change for the better. Make everybody happy.
Stay
You know.
strong, brother.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned the cold calling part there, Jesse. How much do you recommend doing that manually? Do you recommend voicemail drops? Do you recommend there's obviously AI tools out there that are doing it now?
Sure. This is a step that not a lot of people do because it's, like you said, it's something you actually have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, right? Maybe you're a little nervous. But success rates go up 30% when you do it.
Really?
So there's 30% success rate when it's in addition to just your emails. So if you put that on top, you're going to have more success.
Interesting. So with us, right? I like to use us as an example just so I'm not busting any clients' chops. We're sending emails out about ABM. If we were to add the voicemail drop, would you recommend that each person who's participating in the program record their own voicemail drop? So that way it's if, Katrina was part of our outbound, if Chris's voice ended up on a Katrina voicemail, that would feel pretty inauthentic.
Yeah.
I'd say, I guess, yeah. In a perfect world, it would be the person who's sending the sequence. In an imperfect world, I think someone from the same team or the same company could also reach out, right? You're trying to get your company in front of that account, not necessarily you in front of John.
I have a semi-relevant story. Can you all hear the seagulls?
Yep.
Is it coming through the mic?
Yeah. It's great.
Dude, they have been wilding out all day. I know, poor me. Blue skies and seagulls. God. Go away, Steven Seagal. Okay, so there's... I know. Thank you.
On fire.
Hold.
Thank you for that.
Okay. So I got a buddy. He's in my office, and he's like, "Hey, they own a high-end landscape architecture firm in Monterey." And he's a hoot because they're very behind on technology. So he comes over and he's like, "Man, this guy called me from an 831 number. That's our local area code, but isn't from the area. Why would he ever think I would do business with him if he's not even honest about where he's calling from?" My response was, "Would you pick up a 407 number?" He's like, "I don't know where that is." No. I was like, that's exactly the reason he's using a local number to call you so you pick up. How would you ever do business with him if you don't ever connect with him? But he was very still upset about the idea that someone using a fake number to call him.
Is it a fake?
I don't know why I feel like that's relevant. I don't know. I don't know.
Fits.
Just so there's some old schoolers out there, especially in this Monterey area.
Yeah, I mean, I've had phone numbers here in Canada that I'll use for Alberta only. I have numbers for Toronto that I'll use for Ontario only. I had numbers for the US. I feel like
these seagulls are fucking with me.
That's the podcast title
keep getting closer.
Chris is
I'll slack it to you guys. This is crazy.
The seagulls are very unprofessional.
Yeah. Don't they know we're trying to record an episode here?
I mean, yeah, you guys can't see this, but they're right up in the window.
Oh yeah, put that on your fridge.
There you go. All right.
Anyway,
so where did we land on the voicemail? What was our thought there?
I want to try it.
Leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
Let's try it. I mean, I would love to.
Yes.
Should it be sent out from the person doing the sequence or an inbound or internal person under that account?
Yes. Let the person whose sequence it is leave the voicemail. Obviously, that's the best way to go. You can record
a voice note on your phone, probably upload it. I know Apollo has this feature now, right?
Is Apollo drops or is it you actually got to call
Apollo
them?
Can do a voice drop.
Nice.
Doesn't HubSpot do it now as well?
I don't know.
I know well, they might with the Twilio connection there.
Anyway,
I don't know if
Apollo
HubSpot, Kixie
yes.
does it.
Kixie does it.
Well,
I
looks
say we
like
try it.
we got some work to do next week.
Yeah, good luck. Get it done yesterday.
Okay. So got everything set up. Can't do this. No. Everything is set up in Apollo. We've got our emails. We're talking about putting in the voicemail drops. When does that data, or when should it go back to HubSpot or insert CRM of choice?
It would be HubSpot, obviously. When
Well
when do we want to have that? Does Apollo information populate in HubSpot?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah.
In real time. I would like to have it populate in real time.
Good.
We'll have the all the records should be synced in real time. HubSpot should be the main source of truth, and nothing will overwrite anything in there.
That's good.
But everything will be copied there, obviously. There'll be a record of everything.
I am proud of your answer. I agree.
Why do you agree,
So does
Chris?
Steven Seagal, actually.
All right. Well, what are your... I don't even know what to say now.
Just getting interrupted in the studio today. I got to get a sign
It's one of those days. It's all good.
and a water gun.
All right. How about this? What insights do you want to leave people that are just getting started with ABM, Apollo, HubSpot? What's your message to them aside from obviously higher growth?
That's a good one. What do you think, Jess?
People just getting into doing ABM, tell them stay consistent, start small, don't expect immediate results, and it's going to work for you as long as you keep doing the effort.
Did you watch my webinar yesterday? That was like perfect.
I don't
We
watch
should have
any of
synced
your
up before we
webinars.
did it. No, I agree with Jesse. Start small,
Yes.
be authentic, like to the
Be authentic.
people that you're going to email to. Take a little time and talk about them. Who are they? What do they like? What do they not like? And then be consistent. And like managing expectations is difficult. So truly, if you're in a small org, you've really got to make sure that you're like supported to experiment and try new things. I hope the resources we've created help because it's been very transparent. And even if you don't hire us and you've got questions, if you're in the Apollo community, Jesse's done an amazing job showing up. Even if you pinged him on LinkedIn, you can reach out to us anytime. We definitely want to see you succeed, and it doesn't need to be because you're a client of ours. Stuff,
Nice.
man. Stuff out there.
And I'll throw this in the show notes too, because we've got the target account list session up on the site now too that people can grab, right? Yeah.
I honestly felt like kind of proud about that one because it's not a book or a piece of information that exists in the universe until now. But I really think it talks about the nuance behind a really good target account list, or the best, really, if you want to look at it that way.
The best target account list.
Wrap it up.
Awesome. Well, let's summarize today a bit here, guys.
I'd like to leave a question for the next guest for next episode.
Yeah.
So that's how it works here, right?
Sure.
Question
Let's
for the
do
next
it.
guest.
You just started a new tradition.
Let's do it.
This was on a Diary of a CEO. If anybody's followed that series, it's quite good.
Yeah.
So every week they get to leave a question for the next week's guest. So my question this week will be, what's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you and why?
Who do we have up next? That's
Obviously.
that's going to be fun.
Brutal. Just the worst one. No, I'll pick something easier, but it's a fun little tradition.
Well, I think I love the idea of not that question, but if you want to kick it off, you now have to come up with a question, not that one. Is your question going to be for our next guest?
The question for the next guest, I'm going to say, what's in your Spotify right now? What are you listening to? What genre? What artist? Whatever. Keep it light. Something like that.
All right.
I think that's a good one.
I like it.
I also kind of want to hear what's in your Spotify.
My Spotify?
If you open it up right now.
Oh, got a little bit of.
I'll share mine. This is real.
There.
Let's see what mine is. What do you got?
Make Love to You, Boys to Men, is currently on my Spotify, and it's 1/3 of the way through the song.
There's like 6 of them.
I got Cleaning Out My Closet by Emma.
Oof.
Trapped in My Closet by R. Kelly.
Classic. Awesome. Well, Jesse, once again, I'm left dumbfounded.
Thanks for having me.
Is that the right word?
It's been fabulous.
No further comments, Your Honor.
Man, this is like riff tracks. If I can just sit in the background, just talk shit on you guys while you have serious meetings.
Yeah, great.
I hope so.
Great job. All right.
Well, thanks everyone
That's
for
what this is all
joining
about.
in.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for being here, Jesse. Let's groove out on the outro.
Love an outro. Or do I? I do.
We should get a mute button.
Do some dance coaching.